So basically for this project you'll get a drawing of the TV layout, which actually does not have any rendered material. This picture already has it. So you're pretty much going to add in the material. It does not have to be exactly as shown here. And actually this drawing has lights as well, which we'll do next class or the class after. So what you're going to be doing is adding on a blank one all the required material so that all the parts have a material. Now, to make your life easier, remember how we set up a material to a layer? I would recommend doing that for this, because some of these things are based on a layer. So this is what you're going to receive. Now, it's in a different view. This is a world view kind of setup. If you guys don't like that, that's fine. All you need to do is go under UCX, right click here, and make it parallel. That will provide you with a better view of the part. And of course, if you don't like realistic, you can go back to conceptual, but that's going to be harder to tell which material has been added or which hasn't. In addition to placing all the material on the whole assembly, what I need you guys to do is to add, since some of these parts are not separate, actually they're all separate, so that should be easy. Glass is, of course, wherever you need it, and there's shelves inside, so make sure you add these materials to these shelves. Now, if you can't select the shelves inside because of the glass on front, what you want to do is right click on the part and you go into hide object. Now you can add the material for the shelves and move forward. And if you want to return that glass part, you end object isolation. So for a quick sample, you would go into your rendered material, rendered tab, go into the browse material browser. Now, since you guys opened the same file, it's probably in presentation. Again, change that into a low or a draft. Otherwise, your computer is going to have a big problem dealing with the setup. Also, you can also change the render quality and the size. From here, you're going to add in the material as you wish, but I do recommend using something reasonable. Don't make the walls glass. That kind of does not sound right. Would be interesting. So, but I am going to add glass, clear glass, to these pieces here. So these materials, these two glass parts, I can now hide. I'm not sure if I need to hide this one here, but if there's a shelf behind it, I will have to hide it. No, there's no shelf. But for these shelves, I will also have to place a material. So if you guys want to put a nice wood material, you can do that. Under wood, I'm going to click generic. I'm going to make sure I select the same generic material. That's my shelf inside. My outside will be ash. That's going to be this part as well as this part. And the drawers here are going to be different. So I'll try to keep it original and interesting. Now, if you kind of miss something, you won't know until you see it in realistic. So if you have it in realistic, that will help you realize that you missed a part, like I just did here. I accidentally selected the back part instead of the drawer here with that material.
Do you need to hide the drawer fronts to be able to get inside the drawers?
There is nothing inside the drawers, so you do not have to hide the drawers to get inside, because this component, this bottom portion, is one piece. Actually, there's a trim here that I did not realize, so I can add a nice trim color into that. And since the wall is not supposed to be that brown, there's also a wall paint material in your material browser. And then of course I need a floor. There is also flooring. Put some bamboo. That's a little too bright. I don't like bright floors. This is some tile. So if you have tile and they're really small pieces, you should know how to change this by going into your render tab under material mapping. I use a box, select the part, and I just drag this out. There we go. And now the floor looks nice. Again, there's a little parts that needs to be added. Here's some flowers. This is going to be tricky. As you can see, the flower is all separate pieces. Now it's up to you if you want to do the hassle of each one, but instead I recommend selecting the entire petals, putting it on a layer, and put the material to the layer. Because in case you want to change the petals into a different color, you would have to do each one separate. So instead of doing that, I'll show you guys what you can do with the layers. But I want to add some more. I want to finish this up with the material. I'm going to add something for the TV. I'll show you guys how to add a picture later on to this, so that we'll actually see a TV picture. And I need to do a ceramic for the vase. Now if you guys did a vase in the previous projects, you can add it in here instead and replace this one. That's going to be dirt. That's going to be under miscellaneous, I believe. Or site work. Graph. Stone. Dirt. So you guys can see the textured dirt. And here's even grass. Whoa. That's the trick. I should have isolated the background, the wall.
Sweet wallpaper.
Right? The wallpaper is great. It's gonna hypnotize you when you get there. Go back to turquoise, and it's nice to have the icons. This one even tells you, or you can go by the type. It tells you wall. You can specify the wall. So now I have these petals. Now instead of placing the material on each one, which would take forever, first of all I need to look for a layer that would be nice. Probably plastic, since these are fake. That's gonna be my color. But instead of trying to click on each piece, which will take just way too long, I'm going to create a layer. So I'm going to format layers. I'm going to add a layer called flower. I'm going to even change the color, orange. Close this out. I'm going to isolate the wall, so I'm going to hide it for now. Hide object. I'll zoom around here. I'm going to do a blue box selecting all the petals of the flowers, and I changed the layer from 0 to flower. So it changes the color as shown, but the material is not there. So I end the isolation, so I put the wall back in, and what I need to do next, instead of clicking in each one, this is where I made it tricky for you guys, so you guys actually have to add a layer and do that. You go into your render tab. Ooh, there we go. Under materials, you go to attach by layer, or you can type in material attach, and you can select that. What was it? Call it bamboo? No, smooth. Oh, there it is. Really weird preview of it, but there you go. I'll drag it in. Next step. So now you can see it's like a darker orange. It's actually rendered. Once you're happy with the overall setup, what you can do is rotate to a view that you prefer. Zoom in as needed. And we can go into the render. But before you do that, make sure it's set at low. I usually use the properties here, advanced rendering properties, by selecting the arrow on the right side. And it's set at low. It's set at the current view, not a crop. So this will create a viewport. A new, it's going to create a view in a window. So a new window will show up. Otherwise, you'll have a viewport, and you don't want that because that just takes the viewport of the drawing right here. Once you're happy with that, just click on render. Work without using the medium image libraries. Otherwise, you have to go online. Let's not do that. And it gives you a nice rendering. This is the low, and you can see how long it takes for the low. It's going to tell you in just a bit. It takes 8 seconds, not that bad. The rendering looks pretty nice. The size is small. Actually, no, it's pretty big. But let's say I change that up a little bit. I'll zoom in a little bit more, and I'm going to go from low to high. So now it's at high, and you can see it looks a little bit better, but you won't see it until I show you the difference. So I'll wait a little bit. And now again, I don't know why my TV is red. Don't use red, kind of looks weird. Maybe use a metallic or something. Or you can edit the TV itself. Feel free to do so. Okay, so this is my high resolution, and this is my current. So as you can see, it's a little bit cleaner. And of course I zoomed in, so it's even a little bit better. Now the third option, I'm going to keep us going, you go into presentation mode, which will take quite a bit longer. And yeah, you may want to do that once you're happy with the overall design. So I'm going to do that, but before I do that, I'm going to pause the video because that may interfere with. So once it's completed its rendering, you'll see the difference between the presentation. Double click, or you may not even see that much of a difference. Yeah, it kind of looks the same. But you can zoom in, get a better close-up. You see the texture here on the presentation. Not sure if that's going to be as good on the. Actually, it's not that bad. It looks almost the same. But the more complex the part is, the more you'll see a difference, especially when it comes to lighting. That's when the presentation becomes a huge factor. So keep that in mind. It might not be such a big issue when there is no lighting set up on this project. Now there's also specifications here you can adjust, or you can create your own preferred presentation style. So under presentation, there is a option of going to manage render presets, where you can actually create a new presentation. Now this one's going to be based on what I have set up here. So if I create a copy, I call it TV, or my favorite setup for my setup for a preferred setup of your presentation. This is where you start playing with, if you like, your materials on, your textures off or on. There's a lot of things here that you just have to really just test out to understand what they actually do. It might be a bit too difficult to explain, and you could go over this information in the book, and I'm not even sure they go into it too deep. So just playing with these numbers will adjust your drawing as is. Once we get into lighting, there are also lighting properties that you can adjust. And once you're happy with the setup, you can always use that. So under presentation, once I had it set up, there is a my setup. So that will default everything to what I prefer. And if you want to change it on the fly, so when you're working here and you want to change it, let's say I want these off, and let's see if that worked. I took the material off, so now when it's rendered, the material is gone. It's based on my rendered present. It's supposed to be presentation. It's my setup. So there is yellow because that's the yellow layer that I placed the flowers in. Now you can also see the difference when you have medium and high. Here's the things that change: filter width, width height. You can hover around, next step for tracing, and so forth. So that's what gets changed based on your presentation level. Now let's say we want to add an actual picture to our TV, which I already did right here, so you guys can see. Kind of interesting, looks pretty cool. To do that, it's pretty simple until your computer crashes. So my computer crashed, so I had to redo it pretty fast, but I had a new material and I changed it all a little bit. But again, to add an actual image to the part, what you want to do is go into Insert, Raster Image Reference. So going here will allow you to select an image that you already have somewhere saved on your computer. I have the one that we created before, the rendered material, that basic one that we created. It's called 1. Usually you don't have to specify any of this information until you place it in, because you don't know what scale and until you actually place it. So you place it in, you place at what surface or 0, 0 you want to place on. I'm just going to select this computer, TV. I'm going to click the corner here, and I can do that. It's going to select on the surface. Okay, I'm going to undo that for a second. Okay, instead of doing that, it will probably be easier just to go directly on one point. Again, insert 1, open, okay, click on that surface, and you can scale up. I'm going to scale it up 3. Still kind of small. This is where you can start dragging it and increasing the size. Now, if you're accidentally selecting any other objects and they're in your way, again, right click, hide objects to isolate them. Hide object. Now I'm going to scale this up. There we go. And I end my object isolation. Then I take my drawing here, move it around, and if I want to scale it back up a little bit more, snap down to something. I'm fine with it. The only thing that you have to worry about next is if the image is inside the material, like you can see here. So if I select it and I use the green arrow, I can drag it out, specify distance, or I can just click and hope I don't snap onto something. I just do an 1/8 of an inch, doesn't matter. So that way it's in front of the actual TV. And from here you can go into rendering, and that image should be shown in your rendering. So if you go into render, and you let it render. Now this is a presentation. I should have checked where I was rendering before I did this. So I'm going to have to pause this out now. Oh, come on, computer. And basically this is what you would end up with. A rendered image of a TV with an image. And this is what I expect from you guys.